Hello, everyone. This is Santir here, and welcome to I'll explain this in a moment, but this is take two of my Life and Channel update for April of 2026. The first effort that I made of recording this, for reasons that I am still kind of perplexed by, uh, did not have the audio recorded. So I did some looking around my OBS settings, and as best I can figure, the way that I have the setup for recording is I use a different profile with recording and streaming. But the way that I have things set up for recording is I have the desktop audio and then a microphone, and I have the split into two separate tracks. And for whatever reason, there was just nothing there, and I don't know why. My guess is maybe something with an OBS update caused, because my microphone was on track 2, not track 1, and my guess is maybe something with track 1 went wrong. I don't know. I've changed some of those things around, and it seems like videos now properly have audio. So I'm doing another stab at recording this. We will see how that goes. Anyway, the most relevant thing for the past week has been that I got sick, which has really messed with things. People who check out the VOD from the stream last Wednesday, what is that? Like the 22nd, I want to say, will definitely notice that. That was the worst day of this sickness, but it has continued to be a bit of a problem. It's like gotten a lot better at this point, as you'd hope a week out, but it's really mucked with things for the past week. It's thrown off my sleep schedule. Because what's happened with it, I'm gonna try to be brief. What's happened with it is basically I felt it a lot in my the left side of my face, in particular, but in my sinuses. We're just making a lot of mucus. That first Wednesday, I was feeling feverish at times and stuff. It hit me that Tuesday night, but what ends up happening is my mucus will get down into my breathing ways, and if I start to dehydrate, it especially will like thicken up and impact my breathing to like not risk of suffocation or anything like that, but it definitely makes breathing laborious enough that it kind of makes sleep hard, and then it's hard to keep hydrated while you're unconscious for some reason. So it's just been bad for my sleep in particular, and it's just I've been lower energy in general. So that's disrupted a lot of what I had hoped would be going on at this time of the month. But, and I've been having to do a lot of that to clear things out. But hydration is super important for me for dealing with this sort of stuff. So this past month, there's been a number of different things to talk about. I've been doing some revisions on my novel. And there's a book that I've been working on with a friend, and we've been doing revisions in that as well. A lot of what that process is, like with the book with a friend, we're going over things and just trying to find spots where one or the other of us tagged something for review and was like, can we improve the wording on this? It's just kind of a process of editing and proofreading. With the novel, I'm having to revise stuff because I'll have written one thing earlier on and then forgotten that by the time I wrote the next later thing, because it's not like I'm rereading the book the entire time as I'm going through writing it. So then I have to figure out where I want to fix things, like which direction do I want to fix things. I could give some examples, but those would be spoilers, and I don't want to do that. So here we are. But it's been an interesting process. I mean, the good news is I'm really excited about my novel. There's a lot of moments in it that I really like, and I'm looking forward to getting more eyes on it. I haven't really figured out what the process of beta readers is going to be like. I have a couple of people that I know I want to talk to about giving it a read through, letting me know where things might be confusing or unclear or whatever else, any plot holes that they happen to spot or find. Boy, I found a bunch, and I'm having to fix them. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to be on that side of things. But I also am just going to be curious about what things are they excited by, what things do they like, what things do they not like. And, you know, there's always going to be things that people don't like about some creative work, and that's fine. Whether or not that's something that I think needs to be changed is going to depend upon what it is. So, that's just how it goes. So I have worked on that some. I was wanting to take a little bit of a gap between doing the previous revision pass and starting the next one. And just as I was wanting to get started on another pass through is when I got sick, and I'm like, I am not been in the mental energy state to work on that. Now I've got some other things I need to work on too, so it's taking me a bit longer to get to than I wanted, but that's how it goes, I guess. One of the big things that I have been doing this month, just to switch gears a little bit, is I've been playing through Dragon Quest XI. I finally reached the end for realsies with it. There's a secret boss that I could go beat, but it sounds like it's really obnoxious to prep for and to be able to handle, and so I probably won't. But I've done most of the things, and I've overall really enjoyed the game a lot. I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot here, though, because I think I'm at this point I am planning on recording a video with the game actually up and such, talking through and looking through its design and talking about its storytelling, its characters, its design, the way all sorts of things are done. Because there's a lot that I want to explore with it. There's a lot that I kind of want to learn and think through. And recording a video on that, it's not going to be prescriptive or anything, because the point of the video is it's something that's going to make me work through and process and analyze things. So if you want to see analysis in real time like that, as it were, that's something that I do want to record. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get to it. Part of it, and when I first tried to record this video 2 days ago, I was definitely having more coughing issues, I think. But part of it is I want to make sure that I'm able to speak long enough to, without the cold causing coughing fits and things like that. Because at this point, I think it's probably stable, but I've definitely, the past, sometimes in the past week, have had moments where my throat is very sensitive and prone to coughing fits. So I'd rather not have to deal with that when trying to record a long video like that, because I don't want to do video editing. That's just, it comes out in the nature of my videos. It's not something I want to do, so that is the way it is. So that's one of the big things is, and that I thought I had beaten the game, and then it turned out there was more game. But I'll explain that in that video, which is going to be full of spoilers, but I'll put a warning at the start of that one. So that's something that I do want to do, and I am looking forward to doing it. Other things, I want to talk about streaming. So I did an experiment the past couple of weeks with streaming on Wednesdays. Obviously, I'm not doing that this Wednesday. Instead of Friday, because I'd been streaming on Friday, and I had been feeling, I'd had a feeling on Saturdays in particular of oh, I really want another day of not having something scheduled, because the way that things are kind of right now with me, I have most days have something scheduled on them of some nature. And so that meant I didn't have 2 days in a row without something scheduled. Like Sunday, I have church, for example. That's, that I like going to church, because boy, is that, I don't like having to get up in the morning for it. If it could be in the afternoon, that would be stellar. But then I have other things that are going on. I have my my meetings with my friend to work on our book on some days, and then the stream. I have the Magic event that I go to, which I like, but I'm also somebody who likes to have time that is not specifically having a specific obligation, so I can kind of fill it as I want to with whatever sort of things are I'm having the drive to work on or do at the time, whether that's working on my book like I'm wanting to do, stupid being sick. Not, it was very disruptive to my mental energy and focus. Particularly those first last week. And then I've been trying to record this video, and anyway. So I wanted to try to see if having no stream on Friday would then allow Friday and Saturday to feel like back-to-back days. And I guess maybe kind of, but it didn't really address things the way that I was kind of hoping, and I'm not quite sure what would. That's something that I'm going to have to think through a bit. But anyway, my point is, it didn't seem like it was giving me huge gains, maybe very marginal ones, and it also seemed very clear that it wasn't a good day for my regulars to watch. So I'm planning on going back to Fridays like normal, like I had been doing with streams. With a slight caveat that maybe I'll stream a different day if I need to for some reason. If there's something going on with the Friday or whatever where I want to shift things around, I might do that. For those who want to catch the stream live, I always say when I'm going live in my Discord server, so there should be a link to it in the description of this video if you want to hang out there. It's not a super active place, but we chat every now and then. I also, in the interim, Guild Wars, when I first recorded this video on the 27th, the update for Guild Wars 1 that happened on the 28th hadn't happened yet. But I know there's a bunch of stuff that's happened with that. I kind of want to talk about the skill balance update that they did. So we'll see about how I might integrate that. I'm not entirely sure yet. The other thing that they've done is they've been adding these dungeons to pre and post searing Ascalon that I want to check out and I haven't yet because I wanted to do it, like have my first time impressions in a like recorded format. So I'm not entirely sure what my plans are, but what I'm thinking is I might actually take a break from the quest for unlocking all skills streams that I have been doing and do just kind of let's check out update stuff, plus maybe do some anniversary grinding on my main account for some of my characters maybe wanting some of that equipment. So, but I think I might front load that by talking about the skill update and then do like the dungeons and then depending upon how much time there's left in the stream, some anniversary grinding, because I can always do that off stream too if I want to. So I think that might be what the plan is for looking at that stuff, because it's definitely stuff that I want to talk about, and people are going to ask me, oh, you should do review this, because I did the skill review update or the skill review projects years and years ago, and people have been like, oh, they've updated the skills. Have you considered checking out or you should do a review of the new ones? And I'm like, yeah, probably, maybe. I don't want to do a whole big thing, but I think it would be worth spending some time talking about those. So that's something that I'm going to want to figure out doing. Yeah. Other things to talk about. It's interesting. I'm thinking about some of the stuff that I talked about in the previous now failed video. One of the things that I talked about was creativity. Because I've been enjoying like watching anime, for example. And like that time I got reincarnated as Slime season 4, I've been really enjoying. I have to say, my main complaint about it is having to wait a week for the next episode. So that's a good thing. Witch Hat Atelier is really well animated. I've been enjoying that. I decided to watch Dorohedoro, which has been interesting. It's definitely been interesting. I don't know what I think about it beyond that, but it's been interesting. And there's been some other ones that I've been enjoying this season. There's one about the strongest classes appraiser provisional that I've been enjoying. Like, it's always interesting to see tropes popping up, but then how are they actually handled? And that one's been kind of interesting how it's been approaching things. So there's been a number of different ones, and that kind of led me to want to talk about creativity, because like one of my goals for this year is to play more new like games that I hadn't played before, because I often have found myself in games that I have played before. And talking about some of the value of that and watching anime or reading books or whatever. Like as a creative, and this is something that I thought was a really interesting discussion, so I'm going to do my best to kind of like capture some of what I was talking about. As a creative, because there's been a lot of comparisons of creativity of the way humans do it and the way generative AI does it. And they're very, very different. And I think it's really important to highlight the difference, because yes, it is important that I watch or play or whatever, engage with other media, other things that people have made to learn from, so that way I can incorporate elements of what they've done into my own creativity. And I think it's really interesting to think about how that works compared to, because what people say is generative AI is just doing the same thing as what human creatives do. It's just taking what other people do and then repackaging it. It's like, no, that's not what human creatives do. I mean, there's probably some who do that, but they're not being creative, right? And I want to kind of explain what I mean by that, because what generative AI is doing is it's taking a bunch of things, it's throwing them in a blender, and then giving you the paste, the slop, and saying, here, I made a new thing for you. And it's like, no, you just blended up a bunch of stuff and regurgitated it. And what a human creative is doing is they are applying thought. They're applying their own lens, their own perspective, their own self. And so they are taking themselves and they become the binding agent that mixes elements of things that they've experienced, as well as perhaps their own ideas, together into something new. And that's very different, because what you have with, and you see this with other forms of slop, like asset flips, right? Which, for those who don't know, an asset flip is just a reference to a game on wherever, Steam probably, where somebody just bought a bunch of assets from a store, stuck them into a thing, and then like a very simple sort of thing, and then sold that as like, oh, it's a game, and it's all marketing fluff, right? They're just trying to get some marketing things that they can use to be able to try to sell something to make money. So they're flipping assets. They're not being creative so much either. There's definitely like a little bit of something there probably, but not a whole lot. They're not saying something. I need to swap cups. Anyway, the human creative process involves like, how are you, like, what are you being inspired by? So you have these other ideas, you have these things, and they help broaden your perspective, your conceptual space. They help give you ideas of what things can be done, and they give you ideas of what sort of things you might want to try yourself. But see, there is an inherent element of oneself, one's soul, that is being worked together in that creative process. And I think it's really important to recognize that. And that is at the heart of human creativity, is the human that is creating. And so, yes, I'm looking at, what somebody else has done, and I'm thinking, they did something really interesting. I want to do that sort of thing too. But then I'm going to take it and reinterpret it through my own self, my own lens. And so it's not going to be the same as what they made, because I don't want to do exactly the same thing. Like, there's going to be elements, sure, but like, I mean, even with fan fiction, right? What people are doing is what is something that they would like to see with that thing? And they're taking that thing that somebody else made, and they're saying, I want to see this with it. I'm going to make that happen. And so it is taking their own desire, their own want in there, and using that as a point of drive for writing the thing, for making that piece of fan fiction or a piece of fan art or whatever. And I think that's really interesting. That's such an important part to human creativity, and it's something that generative AI lacks. It can't do that intrinsically. Not unless a human is imbuing that into it, and then it's that human, right? And so it's even then it's not quite that. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing to think about. It also makes me think a little bit about something else that has struck me, because I've been thinking a lot about my experiences with the internet over my life. And I remember when I was a teenager, years ago, and the experiences that I had with the internet in the sort of mid 2000s, early mid 2000s through about 2012 or so, just a ballpark time frame. Basically like high school and college time for me, and just is a rough time frame in my life, right? And just thinking about my experiences with the internet then to where it is now, and thinking about how why do I feel like the internet back then was better? And I think it's fundamentally something that happens with the way that I kind of have decided to phrase it, that I think kind of captures it. It's obviously lacking in nuance because everything is that short. But the idea that the internet was better when people made things for people instead of people making things for money. And I feel like a combination of like consolidation, sure, but that emphasis on money as being the reason things are being made instead of that personal reason is a pretty significant contributor. And that's like, so I have a NeoCities website that I've been working on, and I've worked on that some too, I believe, this past month, where like the way that feels versus like even writing my blog or whatever. I don't know. It's just interesting how different things have different feels, and just the way that social media has like stripped out a lot of personal expression, because like places that people went to on the website used to be places that people made on the internet. They were websites. They were sites, right, where people were on in this web of interconnected sites. And it really feels like social media in particular, but also like I don't know what I want to call it. Um, consolidation, I guess, um, of platforms has really led to like this lack of individuality or personality, because people aren't expressing themselves to the same extent, because they can't, because like you go on Blue Sky and sure you get an avatar and a little header image, I think, maybe, I don't know, I don't remember, but you get an avatar and you can put your profile in there and you can put your words in there, but you aren't arranging the site. And you can probably do something with the app proto stuff to be able to do your own version. But you're not doing that with Twitter. You're not doing that with Facebook. You're not doing that with YouTube. It's just their site and you're putting stuff on there. And it used to be people would make their own site and put their own things on there. And I think the internet was a bit better when it was that way. It was harder to get connected, but I think the connections were more meaningful. And I don't know. So that's something I've been thinking about a little bit too. Let's see. Is there anything else that I want to talk about? I feel like I've covered most of the things. Yeah. I guess I could talk briefly about Magic the Gathering. Here's to the Arena crew getting their union recognized. Sounds like they need it. Unions are an unfortunate necessity that corporations and businesses basically, like, a properly run corporation or business doesn't, like, its employees wouldn't need to unionize because the business would recognize the value of its employees and properly invest in them and care for them. But because that doesn't happen for various reasons, unions are necessary. But unions also create their own problems. We know that from police unions that keep bad policemen from, policemen who break the law. It protects them. And so like you also need the union to be moral and accountable. And so unions are a human solution to a human caused problem. And it is frustrating. Like, when you look around the world, the majority of the problems it feels like people are trying to solve these days are also created by other people. And it's just so frustrating that we can't, that's the case. But anyway, that's too much of a bummer note to end on. But yes, Magic the Gathering. So Secrets of Strixhaven time has begun. I'm looking forward to it. I like multicolored stuff. Did feel like Lorwyn Eclipsed, I finally got my head around how that draft format worked in the last, I don't know, month maybe. But wow, that one was really hard for me to get my head around. But I'm really looking forward to Secrets of Strixhaven and seeing how that plays. But anyway, life continues. Life continues. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up there. Much shorter than the failed one by like 6 or 8 minutes or something. But hopefully everything worked out okay with the audio. That would make me happy. Until next month, everyone, take care and goodbye.